King Institute, alhamdulillah, we have been, for the last few months, delving into a ton of perspective, covering really every element of this genocide. We've been talking about it from a spiritual perspective. We've been talking about it from a political perspective. And, where Islamic perspective is and where Islamic practice is. And we've all been witnessing the human catastrophe. SubhanAllah, the amount of relatives that have been lost. Personally, a few people from my extended family. I met Sheikh Qatanani, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for him, from New Jersey. He's lost over 40 members of his family and counting. And he can barely share a few sentences without breaking down. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for him. And running around here at the mass convention, we were looking at a beautiful young girl, Jinan, may Allah have mercy on her, that had memorized the Quran at 13 years old, which is harder. There's a lot of stories. There are a lot of people that are stopping each other at the mass convention, talking about their personal loss. And we've been kind of grounding ourselves and back in the deen of Allah Azza wa Jalla and what we should be doing. That's how I came across these two brothers, during the convention, and was very moved both by the pain as well as what they're trying to do. To my immediate left is Dr. Mosab Nasser, who is from Gaza, and Dr. Khaled Saleh. Dr. Mosab and Dr. Khaled are working on missions, medical missions in Gaza. Dr. Mosab is one of the most notable orthopedic surgeons in the world. He's been to Gaza multiple times, correct? Dr. Khaled. Yes.
I've been in Gaza once.
Once.
Which is the last mission.
The last mission.
Just 6 and the CEO.
MashaAllah. So Dr. Mosab and Dr. Khaled have been leading missions. Dr. Khaled is one of the most noted orthopedic surgeons in the world, alhamdulillah, has been to Gaza once, has done multiple surgeries there, complicated surgeries there, and both of you have been looking for an opportunity to go back, inshallah ta'ala, really trying to galvanize, inshallah, as many people as possible. But dear brothers and sisters, Dr. Mosab, who is from Gaza, how many family members have you lost?
About 72.
72.
Yeah.
72 members of his family. 72 members of his family. So subhanAllah, when you think about, just the numbers, that's a staggering amount of people. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about what that 72? First of all, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept them all as shuhada, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow them to be waiting for you at the gates of the Jannah, and Allah Azza wa Jalla allow them to intercede for the rest of your family. And all of you enter into Jannah together, we can thank ta'ala. So we're very sorry for the pain that you feel. If you can tell us a little bit about those 72 members of your family, just sort of high level.
Yes, subhanAllah, I was at the mosque in Houston 2 or 3 days ago when I got the news from Gaza that 4 members of my relatives have been martyred. And subhanAllah, we Palestinians are kind of programmed to receive these numbers. So 4, I thought, that's, tolerable compared to the numbers that we see and hear every day. And then as the time progressed, when I woke up in the morning the second day, I saw that one of my relatives has posted online that 72 members of our family, the Nasser family, have been martyred at Al-Mabazi refugee camp in Gaza. That was really shocking. Those are, family members or relatives that I have, I ate with, laughed with, drank coffee with. And it's very difficult to comprehend the scale of the tragedy. SubhanAllah, these are lives, these are people that you have met, you have talked to. They had hopes, aspirations, and in fact, many of them were children. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on them. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept them as shuhada in Jannah, and give patience to those who are left behind. Ameen.
How do you deal with that on a personal note? Is anyone left from your family in the Gaza where they all were?
No, alhamdulillah, my immediate family members, brothers and sisters, are still alive, but they all have basically left. They're from the north of Gaza, from Beit Hanun. So the Nasser family, I would say, is probably 500 plus, mashallah. This is a typical Palestinian family. So when we say family, it means, that cousins, brothers, sisters, relatives, their children, grandchildren, and so on, right? So we have the Nasser family maybe consists of 100 families. All of them were scattered around, Gaza. And I was born and raised in Beit Hanun, the north of Gaza, which has been really decimated. It's been flattened. My immediate family members, brothers, sisters, their wives, children, and even grandchildren, most of them are in the south right now in Rafah. Two of my sisters, actually, with their families, are taking shelter at the UN schools. In
Your sisters.
my own sisters, yeah. So my immediate family members, siblings, we're talking about maybe 200 plus. All of them have been displaced. Their homes have been destroyed, have been burnt effectively. And they are staying in UN shelters at the worst inhumane conditions one can imagine.
Where? When you talk to them, have you noted a shift? When I talk to people on those, I noted that the last 2 weeks there's almost a shift in the tone. There's a lot more desperation, I think, now with the starvation, with the shelling all sides, no more safe areas. I mean, not there ever really was. It seems like there's a ground incursion that's being prepared the Rafah side as well. Correct. What are you hearing from your family that's there? Are you hearing any change in tone?
SubhanAllah, we Palestinians are very resilient, despite the challenges, despite the pain. We're kind of programmed, SubhanAllah, to receive these kinds of news and deal with the atrocities that we have been living and experiencing for the past 75 years. The blockade itself on Gaza has been for the past, 17 plus years. So I don't see a shift in being hopeful. I think we feel helpless. They feel helpless, but they are not hopeless. I think they feel that
There's a big difference between those two things.
absolutely
Helpless and hopeless.
Absolutely, and I can tell you, being from Beit Hanun, where my family members, all their homes have been destroyed, they insist on coming back as soon as there is a ceasefire. No one contemplating of staying, in Rafah or in Khan Yunis even a single day after the ceasefire. They want to go back to the north, and they will put a tent on the top of the rubble of their homes, and they will stay there. This is Gaza.
Absolutely. Not deterred by those who have betrayed them, nor those who have shown them enmity. SubhanAllah, that's really been something that even when I hear, I've been to multiple refugee camps, I've been to different places, and I'm sure both of you have. Yemen. The way that people who have just had however many tons of bombs that have been dropped on them, and I've been through this, and I've lost their homes and lost their family, are still saying, "Oh no, we're coming back." So as soon as this is over, we're coming back. Benjamin Netanyahu said he wanted to thin out the population. Now he's being very open about the full ethnic cleansing project that he has in mind. But there was an element of psychological warfare here. No, very clearly that they're not supposed to come back, that at some point you break them down to where they don't want to come back. And even the few relatives I've spoken to that are asking to get safe passage to Egypt and the immediate bombardment, in their mindsets, like you said, is go back, rebuild, even if we have to rebuild from scratch, even if there's nothing on the ground, even if we're walking through craters, and through the trauma of the dead bodies of our relatives, we're still going to rebuild. There are people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly chosen for this. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved these people. He talked about these people in such a glowing way. Al-Murabitun, it's a category in Islam that often gets left out, right? We don't really talk about them too much, but they're the ones holding the fort, refusing to let this evil project, colonial project of Zionism take full root in that land. Are you proud of your relatives?
Oh, absolutely. All of it. No exception. Unbelievable. Their spirit is unbeatable, which is really the Palestinian spirit forever. And subhanAllah, just watching and seeing their story, their resilience, makes you proud of who you are. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them patience, to give them strength, and ease their stress.
Yes, subhanAllah, the last wasiyah of Wadaqqa, I was listening to his son talk about, he was the cameraman for a while at the end of I was listening to his son talking about the last conversation, and he said that his dad, told him, please make sure you pray your prayers on time. That's before, he woke up in the daytime and said, these guys are barely surviving. He was a pretty happy guy, mashallah, like many of the Palestinians. So yeah, still fighting with a smile and laugh. And obviously was unfortunately shot and left to lead off to death. And accept him as a shaheed. And listening to his son say that just like roll off the tip of his tongue. Like, last that he said to me was, life khalik, I sure is to keep up with your prayers, keep up with your salah. Make sure you pray your prayers on time. On a wall and down. Keep that up. How do we make sense of this phenomenon? Like that they're telling us how to be better Muslims. How do we make sense of that? Like, how do you explain that to a non-Muslim who doesn't get it? What makes them that way? You grew up in the West.
I grew up in the West.
What's in the water? What's in the
secret sauce?
What is the secret sauce of Gaza?
SubhanAllah, it's once you live the experience, it becomes natural. So for us, experiencing what we're experiencing on a daily basis becomes the norm. So people learn how to adapt as things get more difficult. And so for an outsider, it looks like unbearable. For them, it's still unbearable, but they manage to adapt, right? And this is something that's really unique about the Palestinians, which, in fact, if you compare it to the other side, to the Israeli side, they don't have that resilience. We, for the past 70 years, have seen atrocities, massacres, blood, destruction. So it became part of our DNA. There's some sort of a genetic component of the Palestinian gene that says, I have to be persistent. I have to be resistant to the fact that I'm living in this horrible condition. People refer to Gaza, to Gaza most of the time as the open air prison. And I really don't like that term for a simple fact that people go to prison because they've done something wrong. Palestinians haven't done anything wrong. And I like to refer to it as a concentration camp. People are being suffocated in this small area, being slaughtered on a daily basis for many years. The war that happened after October 7 is one thing, but the blockade of more than 17 years in Gaza is also inhumane and should have ended a long time ago and should not have been endorsed by any country in the world. Yes, our own.
And more this time. Dr. Khaled, we'll come to you, inshallah. So you are originally Palestinian as well?
Yes, sir.
Your family displaced in 1948.
Correct. Around the Nakba. There's a town called Sedna.
So subhanAllah there. This is the Palestinian experience. Everyone's got the story of either being moved out, blockaded, or stuck somewhere. I mean, it's everyone's got that story, right? SubhanAllah. So your family was uprooted. You were born and raised outside of Palestine. What made you connect to your Palestinian identity, to the Palestinian cause, and then eventually, obviously, to the mission that you have now?
This is a very powerful question. I think every Palestinian has a different answer, but there's a lot that overlaps in the Venn diagram. For me, it was the family that has, recalls the way of life it was in Palestine. It wasn't a land that had no people. It was a land that had people with amazing hearts. Iman and faith were prevailed. It was safe to leave whatever goods you had outside because everybody carried that faith in their hearts. It was the most productive, countries in the world in terms of agriculture and many exports. And they recalled this life that's amazing where they had cars, trail, and building airports. But sadly, this was taken away from them at the point of a gun, extricated from their homes. And they thought they would be able to return. So they spent years in multiple areas, hoping that door will open again for their house. In fact, some members of our family took the key, hoping that they will be able to come back and open the door. Obviously, that didn't happen. In 70s, I was part of Yafa. Yafa is now a big growing area, but they never forgot that lifestyle, and they clinged on to it and was passed on to the next generation. So my grandparents were raised partially part of mine, along with my parents, uncles, and aunts, who have created a life for me where I haven't. I got to learn about how they lived and how happy they were. And quite frankly, even though we had, I think at some point they had 50 people living in one bedroom, they still recalled that life, and they were able to manage through the difficulties of struggling to get back on their feet. And the realization came that this is untenable. We have to move to another country to carry on our next generations. That key may not come right away, where we can open up the door and let it show Allah and what part it will come back. But if I can, Dr. Omar, if I can add to the answer that Dr. Mosab added, although that was my first visit, this is my second visit to Gaza, I was amazed by the amount of people. As a physician who's seen over 100,000 patients, watching a patient undergo surgery under complete anesthesia and reading the Quran at the same time was unbelievable. I mean, I see it in my throat cracks up. We have a very strong, highly skilled, multi-specialty surgical team, and 40% of it is non-Muslim. It's multi-denominational, which is amazing because they believe in this important cause, and they joined us. And there was a doctor from Portugal who came to us at the end of the mission. Probably was 4 feet tall, but she was an orthopedic surgeon and a recognized force that you can be with. And she said, Dr. Saleh, I know you were busy. I didn't get a chance to talk to you during these past 5 to 10 days, 9 days. I think we were there. She said, and Dr. Mosab was there. She said, I want to tell you I've been around the world, but I'm living with a white heart. I've never been moved so much with people like this. And I want to come back and count on me. And she actually recruited her partners. So it's amazing.
So there's a notable difference how you're operating on the people there.
Unbelievable.
How many people do you think you've operated on in your life?
I would say probably operated, including my training, probably around 20,000 surgeries. I've seen over 100,000 patients from the
On the people that are different.
Unbelievable. So grateful. We thought we were going there, Dr. Omar, we were doing them a favor, bringing these expertise, world-renowned surgeons and nurses and doctors. And my wife said it best, they're doing the favor to us. We left completely different, despite having had the ability to do, mashallah, I'm blessed with Allah to have traveled the world and done mission work all over the world. Gaza was unique. It really changed us. And I speak with you with my hair standing up as a seasoned physician with a lot of gray hair. Everybody on my team came back with a completely different vision about the future and why it is as a central core for changing the world. It is effective. The Iman, the faith, the Quran. In fact, tonight, Dr. Mosab invited me to his house. As we demoted, one of the senior members of the masjid came to us and he said, come on guys, get going. We'd love to have you here. Join us. I said, what's going on? He said, we have seven boys that just finished memorizing the Quran in this last month, month. And the amazing thing was that the scholars, people don't know how much scholars were in Gaza, that we came to realize that were so deep in their knowledge, their perspectives on this, that sadly may not be there today. When we lost a lot of physicians that were our colleagues, that became our friends, they're our families that, we trained that are no longer there. Some of them died as they praised Allah.
Yeah. Host. That's the situation. What you're hearing all loud right now.
So it's when we started planning the mission, and the success of it was that really having knowledge on the ground, thanks to Dr. Mosab being from there, but the organization is impressively well-founded. The Ministry of Health has done a good job doing things. However, it was at the brink of failure at that point in August when we were there, just exactly 8 weeks before the war broke out. we have to take everything. Every day we have regular meetings before that, Dr. Omar, with them, with the ministry, and it's like, well, either way, you need to bring this. We can't afford this, we can't do this. So it was constantly being updated because they try to keep up with the surgeries we're trying, which are extremely complicated, but the reason they didn't have that expertise because they can afford these surgeries. So a joint replacement for us, which is a standard procedure that we have in Canada, States, around the world, it's a given to restore life and function because that integrity and dignity of a person not being dependent on somebody is so important. But when you give them a joint replacement, they're able to take care of themselves and take care of their grandkids. It changes their life. Well, they couldn't have that expertise developed to the level that they needed to. And as a result of that, had waiting lists of at least 10 years, a lot where people are in wheelchairs. So that it was already at the precipice of failure. But to have this war come in and basically annihilate the infrastructure, which is really significant. And the fact that hospitals now are functioning at 20% capacity of what they had because the buildings have been decimated, the need is even more great. You combine that with lack of water, lack of food, lack of shelter and safety, and now you created basically a very difficult situation where life is untenable. And this is what we fear. And it's we're in contact with our colleagues, we're in contact with the people on the ground. We're part of the World Health Organization panel for mating and updating us, and they're at loss too because they have no way of securing the safety of the physicians, our team, securing the supplies if we sent them to get there, nor the ability to be able to conduct the surgeries because they're telling us there's 20% operators. Can you do the surgeries when most of them like?
I hate to even ask the question, but I'll ask the question anyway because I think it's important for us to fully understand the extent. I mean, when you see a child having an operation without anesthesia, even under like when just I don't even know what you call them means. Can you explain that to someone in terms of the pain that a child would feel, the pain that a person would feel without anesthesia having those types of surgeries?
Yeah, one word comes to mind. It's unexplainable. It is unexplainable. No one should go through that suffering, nor the agony of having that. We continue to get pictures from Gaza because of their connections with the physicians, where not only is it unsafe, it's obviously the pain is dramatic and beyond human capability to survive these kind of excruciating surgeries, but to do it as well in an area where they're on the floor, where we know the bacterial count is extremely high. And because of that, the complication rates, even though it's done well, but because of the surroundings with no antibiotics, no anesthesia, no proper care for the wounds. I have videos of physicians walking through the hospital trying to find sutures to close wounds that have been infected. They can't find them. They're out of supplies. And we know that as we look for our next mission, it's going to be a completely different mission. These people are going to have significant complications we have to deal with when you're doing surgery in a hospital where the floor has been exposed to all kinds of bacteria. In fact, the records and the research that's out there right now in Ukraine, the resistant rates where bacteria are learning how to fight our antibiotics has gone up by 300% in Warsaw areas. Furthermore, you have 24,000 bombs that are being dropped with toxic chemicals from cadmium to arsenic to lead, which we easily have been proven to be cancer-forming, significant immune disease formation, and all kinds of very complicated pathologic diseases that require significant resources are been well documented. Each of these bombs contain these things, and as they blow up, these things go in the soil. How are they going to grow these soils? How are they going to grow their vegetables, their food? This is going to be there for years, and this is a conversation in the medical world that we're dealing with. Is you can't just go for 2 weeks, and this needs significant time and investment to address this. It's a very challenging term.
What's sort of your call right now to Muslim doctors or doctors of conscience, World Health Organizations? Like, what's the activism side of this? What is it that you all are trying to do? What can we do at that front, the advocacy front? Sort of call to actions at that moment. World Health Organizations, doctors, medical unions. What should we be doing?
Thank you for this question. This is a very important question. I'd like to answer part of it and then turn that logistical aspects to Dr. Mosab if I can. On the medical side, clearly we need expertise in every domain. Although we were initially testing the waters with orthopedics, now we have gone to every orthopedic, every surgical specialty needs to be prepared in any way they can to come and help. For example, thoracic surgeons, abdominal surgeons, vascular surgeons, plastic surgeons, neurosurgeons, orthopedic surgeons are probably the dominant 80% of these injuries. And right now we know that there's 55,000 casualties that are critically injured, which means that more than likely doesn't mean just 55,000 operations like trauma. More than likely require at least 2 operations to possibly up to 10. So now you're looking at hundreds of thousands of surgeries that need to be done. And the presidents can't be just come in and do 2 weeks. It has to be the president's mindset is that if I join and contribute to this really impactful need right now and my expertise, it needs to be long-term, number one. Number two, the connection the physicians have with medical supplies is critical. No one has the access to resources to purchase these supplies, whether it's surgical implants, for example, that will be needed for these fractures, are amazingly expensive and contain alloys that we need to do to reconstruct this. Third, we need to teach the physicians that are there to continue to expand their expertise, and we've shown that this works. We actually taught surgeons to do surgeries they haven't done before within a few days. So those 3 aspects are really critical from the medical side. Obviously, it's a big lift, and this is where I turn to my brother, Dr. Mosab, to help in this, because this is beyond where we're going. Although we know what we need to do, we have the processes, we have the methodologies. It needs to have multiple organizations tie hands together. Say, we're in this. We're going to get this done.
Yeah, absolutely. What Dr. Khaled said, this is beyond flesh. This is beyond a single organization. And what we've been doing lately since the beginning of the war is really to try to rally our community together to help us achieve our goal. In fact, we're promising as an organization 5,000 surgeries initially to treat 5,000 basically patients. And as Dr. Saleh said, we shouldn't refer to it as surgeries because each patient could potentially require 3, 4, even 5 surgeons potentially. So when we talk about 55,000 cases, that means 200,000 surgeries, right? This is beyond us as an organization. As this is we see this is as a collective effort, not just the community in the U.S., but really around the world. How can we make this happen? So access is another question. We've been trying very hard to send medical supplies to Gaza. I know there have been other supplies that went in, but medical supplies, I can tell you, it's really the very minimum. And the reason is because effectively we're sending metal to Gaza, right? Screws, implants, plates, instrument sets that require approval from all the stakeholders involved, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Israelis, and the Palestinians. So it's not easy. It's different than sending, let's say, food or blankets or tents. Those you can purchase them locally and bring them in. For us, we have to procure those, we have to raise the funds for them, and we have to make sure that they are approved from the other side. We have, alhamdulillah, we've raised the money to send up to 10 40-foot containers to Gaza. And 2 of them actually ready to ship, but we've been fighting effectively kind of the system, how to bring those supplies to Gaza. And so I call upon anyone who has the right connections, can help us bring these medical. They're actually ready packed in pallets. We have 59 pallets ready to ship to Gaza with the most urgently needed medical supplies to Gaza. That's one. Number 2 is access. We have more than, I can say, 150 surgeons in our team ready to be deployed to Gaza at any time. Top talent, top expertise. we need to find a way to bring them in as soon as we have a ceasefire. We didn't want to send many right now because it's too risky, too dangerous. Communications we have with people on the ground, it's a very difficult environment for surgeons, let's say from the US or Europe, to come to Gaza at this point. So we want to go in, we want to help, we have the expertise. And again, think about the cost of 200,000 surgeries.
Sure.
And I really hope this is an appeal that we should not forget Gaza after the war. When we have a ceasefire, let's not abandon Gaza. Let's continue to help them, inshallah.
Inshallah. So I'll remind you all, inshallah. So, mashallah, Dr. Mosab and Dr. Khaled, they're with an organization called Federal Scientific, inshallah. Please do support them. And the many wonderful organizations, as I said, salawat organizations that we need. We need the aid organizations that are going to get food and drink in there. We need the medical organizations. We need the press organizations. We need the Ummah. We need everybody, all hands on deck. And part of what determines your sincerity to the cause is that you don't abandon it when everybody else abandons it. So, like Dr. Mosab said, when it comes to Gaza, inshallah ta'ala, we hope that there will be a ceasefire soon and that rebuild Shafar will be soon, inshallah ta'ala. We cannot move on when the bombs stop dropping. Inshallah ta'ala, we have to keep focused, keep together for Gaza and for Palestine, because we know that this is obviously about more than Gaza. This is about Palestine. This is a government, a regime that is seeking the final end of Palestine. Inshallah ta'ala, this is the beginning of its full liberation. So we need everyone involved, inshallah. I'm going to just ask you, and just, quickly as we conclude, subhanAllah, I couldn't help but notice Mosab bin Umair, Khaled bin Walid, so you're named after some of the heroes of Islam, alhamdulillah. And, Jazakallah khairan, first and foremost, from me to you and from everyone, may Allah reward you all, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comfort you and your family, all the families that have lost people in Gaza, and protect those that are still there from further on. Allah, Ameen. Just your quick message to the Ummah. What do you tell people now, about Gaza? What do you say to people now? Look, we feel, helpless at times. What do you say?
I say Gaza is bikhair. Gaza is good. Alhamdulillah. The people of Gaza are good, despite all the pain, the suffering, everything you see on TV, honestly. Gaza is good. In fact, Gaza is teaching the world how to be patient. What Iman means. Gaza really means the trust and the hope and the faith that we needed as an ummah. Gaza is really the glue that brings us, the people of conscience, together. It's the motor, it's the gravity, it's the force that brings the ummah together. And this is, but Gaza at the same time, despite all this pain, it's an amana that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask all of us about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us about the people of Gaza. What have we done for the people of Gaza, especially those who live a comfortable life like us here in America and in the Western world? What have you done for us? And I know when you hear this, oftentimes you think about money, donations. But our philosophy in this organization, in Federal Scientific, is really the best asset that we have in the Western world is really our minds, our expertise. And we're calling for your help as experts in whatever field you can help Gaza with today before you're sending the money. And Gaza needs the expertise. I can tell you, you can give us millions and millions of dollars, but if I don't have the right surgeon to do the surgery in Gaza, that $1 million, that $100 million mean absolutely nothing. So I call upon those with expertise to come and volunteer with us, whether it's in the medical or otherwise, to rebuild us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask this about us.
In a short prose, I can't recall speaking to my colleagues, Bullard and Benaya, when it comes to the history of our amazing Ummah. The Palestine is the pulse of the Ummah. It is a vital sign of where we are. Think back to Salah ad-Din, where the circumstances showed at that point there was fragmentation amongst us. The Ummah was weaker, and being weaker led to significant issues, including losing of Quds. But it took the unification of the Ummah, which I believe strongly in my heart that there's a purpose behind this that we don't know, subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he has intended through this, but I see so much good coming out of it, Dr. Omar. I see people converting to Islam. I see people realizing the difficulties and challenges are moved by these amazing people as a reflection of the Palestinian heart, the Muslim mind, the hand that reaches out to help another is amazing. And I do believe that there's ricochet effects from this that we cannot appreciate today, but only Allah knows. But I know that the support and the unification of the Ummah is much stronger today than it was before on October 6th. So there's a lot I don't know, but I believe there's a lot of good that's coming out of this. We just don't know, because everything comes good from Allah.
Inshallah. You know, subhanAllah, it's interesting because growing up, I used to wonder why, like, my father was so lent on education. You know,
Right.
coming out of Palestine.
All of us are fathers. We know that. We know that. I remember the talks.
English chemistry professor used to drive me crazy. Why do we have to get all educated? Why do we have to do this stuff? And I was like, oh, we got to take it back and help our people back home.
That's
correct. So
Correct.
obviously that's translated to both of you, alhamdulillah, the rest of us as an ummah. You think about even the young people, your education, use it to help your ummah, inshallah, and learn so that you can get back to your ummah, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan.
Well, yeah.
Thank you for all the work.
Jazakumullah khairan to everyone for tuning in. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.